Think of a church. What you probably pictured was a preacher, stained glass, and an organ playing hymns. That's very typical. But at this church, it is all about charismatic preachers, in-trend music, and hip culture. With their contemporary style to spread the eternal message of God, Hillsong is a church like no other, which started off as a single church in Sydney over 30 years ago, has now expanded into a global brand, with branches all over the world, and celebrities like Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, and Nick Jonas attending their services every week. But how exactly did Hillsong grow into a multi-million-dollar empire? Let's find out. But before we continue, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be the first to be notified of new behind-the-business videos that we post every week. Let's begin. The story of Hillsong starts all the way back in 1983, when husband and wife, Pastor Brian and Bobby Houston, found the church, which was originally known as Hills Christian Life Center. The idea behind Hillsong was to combine Christianity and culture to draw more people towards worship. Initially, the church consisted of 45 members, but the number grew to over 900 in the span of 4 short years. This was mainly because of the expansion of the church's music ministry. The Hillsong members developed a reputation for writing songs for their Sunday services. And while to an average outsider, these songs might sound like your normal pop songs, the truth was that this music was intended for worship. The worship band at Hillsong currently comprises contemporary styles, with a guitarist and a worship leader, along with a bassist, a drummer, 4 backing vocalists, and a choir of about 15 people at the back of the stage. With the growing success of the Hillsong Band, the pastors of the church founded the Hillsong Conference in 1986, which then became an annual event to promote contemporary Christian music and musicians. As the church started gaining momentum with their music, it led to the release of their first album under their very own music label, Hillsong Live, which has now been renamed to Hillsong Worship. The album was titled The Power of Your Love, and it hit stores in 1992 only to be sold out almost immediately, showing just how powerful the influence of Hillsong was among evangelical Christians. The album featured singers like Jeff Bullock and Darlene Zschech, who went on to become regulars in a number of Hillsong albums. The brand Hillsong gained so much recognition that the Houston pastors decided to rename their church to Hillsong, building up their image in the mainstream. The Hillsong music label was then expanded into 3 entities, with Hillsong Worship focusing on church services, Hillsong United being dedicated to touring, and Young and Free that trains the church's youth to sing and perform. However, in 1995, the church faced its first crisis, where their lead singer Bullock had to resign. At that point, the church had a congregation of about 3,000 people. This was when youth pastor Donna stepped into Bullock's former role, while Darlene Zschech became worship pastor, and this proved to be a winning move. That November, Hillsong Worship released the live album Shout to the Lord, which peaked at number 13 on the Billboard Top Contemporary Christian Artist chart. The album's reach was huge because Hillsong had decided to partner up with publisher Integrity Music, which began distributing Hillsong products in the United States. Shout to the Lord's title track is still sung in an estimated 30 million churches each week, and this collaboration with Integrity Music is what really helped the church reach an international audience. However, moving into the 2000s, the church became involved in some financial controversies, where the media, politicians, and ex-members came out with allegations against Hillsong avoiding their taxes. Newspapers actually went on to report that the Houston family was enjoying a lavish lifestyle on taxpayers' money. Critics at the time demanded that the church, which makes millions by routinely demanding its followers hand over at least 10% of their salaries for the church coffers, exploits tax exemption designed to help small struggling churches. However, the church managed to move past these allegations, and in 2004, the live Hillsong Worship release, For All You've Done, topped the mainstream Australian pop charts. A year later, more than 30,000 people attended July's Hillsong Conference. By early 2006, the Houstons counted more than 19,000 parishioners attending services each week. Hillsong's founder, Brian Houston, was also investigated by a royal commission into institutional responses to child sexual abuse back in the early 2000s. His father, Frank, admitted to sexually abusing a boy, but Brian never reported it to the police. In response and to evade any criticism, Hillsong created mandatory child protection training for pastors. Hillsong was also accused of being a cult by its former members, who said that the level of surveillance that the members had to put up with was insane. In 2020, the lead pastor of Hillsong NYC was faced with a cheating scandal. The church was quick to take action against it, with Pastor Brian Houston publicly firing Lentz as an example that Hillsong will not tolerate the actions of Lentz. Through all these actions and the fact that Hillsong was always forthcoming when it came to scandals, Hillsong was always able to bounce back and come out on top of all these allegations. The reason behind the success of the church is the fact that the church has taken Christian music and turned it into a mainstream phenomenon. People can go to any of these churches' locations throughout the world and have an almost identical worship experience. Whichever Hillsong branch they go to, they will sing the same songs and listen to similar sermon messages. With their flagship campus in Sydney, Hillsong has churches in 30 countries on 6 continents, and the number is only increasing with time. Since the church's inception, the Hillsong bands have produced over 100 albums. Their songs are sung by an estimated 50 million people across denominations and countries each week. And according to statistics, songs written by the 3 Hillsong bands have been streamed on demand more than 760 million times since December 29, 2017, which is a number that's comparable to some of the biggest singers of recent times. And speaking of celebrities, one of the biggest reasons why Hillsong has become as big as it is today is the fact that big names like Vanessa Hudgens, Justin Bieber, Hailey Baldwin, Haley Steinfeld, and even Kendall Jenner like to spend their Sundays at their local Hillsong. And if you've never been to a Hillsong service, it feels more like a rock concert than a church service, with people waiting in lines for hours to get in. The attendees are usually young people wearing skinny jeans and leather jackets, while the pastors and singers in the church band also dress like rock stars in ripped jeans and flannels to preach the Word of God. In 2018, Hillsong also won a Grammy for Best Contemporary Christian Music with their song What a Beautiful Name, which once again helped the church gain mainstream recognition. In recent years, Hillsong has used the revenue and popularity from their music division to expand into initiatives like the Hillsong Channel, which broadcasts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is available to over 66 million homes in the US, and another 164 million potential households around the globe. The channel broadcasts church congregations and also airs special documentaries revolving around Hillsong and its musicians. Hillsong has also started a school of leadership and ministry courses to help shape future leaders around the world. Since its creation in 1995, nearly 20,000 students, representing more than 65 countries, have graduated from the college. And in addition to the annual Hillsong Music Conference, the church has now also laid the foundations of a brand new creative conference for worship leaders, songwriters, artists and designers, production teams, editors, filmmakers, dancers, vocalists, musicians, pastors, writers and creatives across all disciplines to steal away from the ordinary and create space to encounter Jesus. This conference is all set to take place in Sydney in 2021. And is expected to establish Hillsong as an even greater cultural force in the world. While there are tons of Christian bands that have achieved immense success, Hillsong is unlike any other. From music production to the church's public image, Hillsong has invested in every single facet of their success. And as we move into the digital age, Hillsong has been the only church that has embraced the current music scene and isn't scared to produce songs that will attract mainstream audiences, which is one of the biggest reasons behind their success. And while the church has received plenty of criticism for its almost corporate style of functioning, the truth is that the Houstons have figured out a model that works, not just for them, but also for everyone who attends the church worldwide. In the years since its inception, Hillsong hasn't only been a church, but it's evolved into a movement that has exposed younger generations to Christianity in a way that no other church ever has. With songs in the ARIA Top 10 chart and the US Billboard Top 50 annually since 2007, and a current net worth of greater than $3 million, Hillsong has taken over the music industry in God's name and completely transformed the way people worship. Hillsong has changed the way people view the church and is responsible for helping countless people come to Christ, and the good work it is doing doesn't seem to be slowing down. If you are ever interested in a Hillsong worship service, you can check out their live stream service, which they do every week over YouTube. We will leave a link to it in the description below. So, how do you feel about Hillsong Church's dramatic success? Do you think it's a success story, or is it something else? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be the first to be notified of new behind the business videos we post every week. Be inspired, and we will see you in the next one. Since you made it all the way to this point, here are 2 more videos that we know you are going to love. Go on, click it. You know you want to.